presenters.
All right, I think we are good to go.
All set?
All set.
Awesome. Hey, welcome everyone to this quarter's installment of our St. Vincent de Paul, Georgia virtual town hall. We started it back in 2020, and we, strive to give you current information about what's going on, not only from the Conference Support Center standpoint, but also from, what's going around in your neighborhood. So again, thank you for coming this afternoon. We are recording this session, so I wanted to let you know. I am Jerry Veltri, and myself and Amanda Strickland are hosting this session, and we have a great set of speakers. But before we start with that, let's start with the prayer, as we would always do with our meetings. So please pray along with us on mute. And St. Vincent de Paul, your love of Christ and of the poor served as an inspiration to Blessed Frederick Ozanam and the founders of the society that bears your name. We humbly ask for your intercession that the Holy Spirit gives us the grace to put into practice your virtues in our daily life. May we approach problems with simplicity, with our intention focused on God. May we follow Jesus' example of humility by being meek and humble of heart. May we practice mortification to die to our desires so that we may better serve others. May we practice gentleness so we may be warm and inviting to all those we encounter. May we have zeal in our ministry to serve God's people, even as we balance our other responsibilities. We ask you to take this prayer to our Lord Jesus Christ. And if it is in the Father's holy will, our will will be granted. Amen. All right. So again, I indicated that we have a full agenda today. The intent is we are going to present a number of different topics. We ask that you stay on mute, that you hold your questions to the end. You can enter them into the chat room, and we will, our design is to have enough time at the end to start answering those questions and then have an open forum. So I now would like to turn it over to our CEO, Pat McNulty, who is going to give us an update on our strategic plan. Pat?
Well, thanks, Jerry, and welcome all. This is a great turnout. So really appreciate everybody's interest and hope that you find today's time useful. And I want to also thank Amanda and Jerry, who put a lot of effort into making sure that we got some good content here and some good presentations. So thanks again to Jerry and Amanda. Before I touch on the strategic plan, which is something that we do as an organization every 3 years, I want to quick commercial. We've got quite a few new opportunities here at the support center. I think Amanda has communicated some of those job openings to all of you via e-blast, and you may have seen the positions also noted in the most recent Georgia Bulletin. I would encourage all of you to take a quick look at those, and if you can think of some people that might be interested, by all means, please refer them to us. So with that said, I'm going to touch base on the strategic plan, as Jerry indicated. Every 3 years, the organization, in conjunction with the board and our overall leadership, get together and go through a process. Really involves a few months. This year, Denise Fisher, who's on the call, helped coordinate this effort with myself and some outside help, some consultants that helped us with this process. Took essentially 4 to 6 months to really review kind of where we are, but more importantly, where the world is, where the needs are, and assess what you all think are most important going forward. So we did a series of surveys of folks that we serve, as well as conferences and others, the general marketplace as well, in terms of where things are shifting, if you will, and what we need to do to address the needs and the demands of, if you will, our clients. And in doing so, we essentially came up with 6 major initiatives. And you can imagine that there are quite a few sub-bullets to each one of these points, so I'm not going to belabor those. But the three main issues from a conference support standpoint are, or let me bounce back. The two major initiatives, if you will, are in the area of conference support, in the area of programs and services. So when you think about it, really what we do here at Chamblee, and from an overall leadership standpoint, is to make sure that we're supporting you folks. And we know that we need to continue to strengthen our relationship between the support center here and what you do. So this is a great example of it, right? The town hall. Jerry getting out to conference meetings and district meetings, and involved with the churches and with the pastors, all those touch points and the different ways that we try to communicate with the conferences as we go forward. Those are all efforts that we make to strengthen the relationship between the support center and the conferences. Again, there are many other sub actions that contribute to that, but that's our primary focus, is to make sure that we stay tight with our 70 plus conferences throughout the state. Secondly, we know that the pandemic will eventually, knock on wood, dissipate, and we will revert back to the model that it makes St. Vincent de Paul who we are, right? It really differentiates us from so many other charitable groups, so many other nonprofits, really, and that is our person-to-person visit, our in-home person-to-person visit. And we know that, again, eventually we will get back to that, and we want to make sure that when the time is right and we start to do that on a grander level, on a bigger level, on a more frequent level, that we're ready for that, and that our folks are prepared and trained to deliver those person-to-person visits in the best way that they can. Thirdly, we want to ensure that spirituality is a primary focus of what we do at the conference level. Jerry started the meeting with prayer. We do that here at the support center in every staff meeting that we have. We want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that, right? That is at the core of who we are and what we do, and we want to ensure that that continues to live on in the organization. Moving over to the second area, programs and services, that is what we deliver, right? That is who we are as well. For our ability to provide hope and help to those, our neighbors in need, that comes through in the form of programs and services. So we want to make sure that we're strong in these areas. And these are our 3 major initiatives, if you will, under programs and services. We know that thrift stores can be an incredible producer, if you will, of revenue, which we can then convert to help in the form of food, clothing, pharmacy needs. So it's important for our thrift stores to be performing at the highest level. One of the things that we've learned over the last year or two is that there are many thrift stores throughout the St. Vincent de Paul network on a national basis that knock it out of the park. They do very well from a overall productivity standpoint, sales standpoint. We need to get better at that. We've got 2 or 3 thrift stores that do that knock it out of the park. And we've got 3 or 4 that are kind of in the middle area. And we've got a couple that we need to get fixed. But they can be an incredible contributor to our ability to fund programs and services. So we've got to focus on that. The second point under services is Housing. Housing continues to be an incredible need throughout the city and beyond. So beyond just the city of Atlanta, the state, we're actively involved in a few counties. We're looking at expanding our capabilities there. I'm not going to steal too much of her thunder, but Denise Fisher follows me to talk more about that. But for those of you that know what we have been doing, really in the last year or two, we've kind of put our toe in the water from a housing standpoint. And we now know that we can execute in this area, and we're looking to study and determine how we can best go forward with greater capabilities in this arena. So Denise is going to talk about that here in a little bit more. But we are committed to expanding our offerings, if you will, in the housing arena. We're doing quite a bit now, but we think there's an incredible need there, and that we ought to be responsive to that need as we grow as an organization over the next 3 years. The last point that I want to make under programs and services really is to make sure that we're continuously ensuring that the programs and services we do deliver are in fact executing at a high level. I think in the past we've rolled programs and services out, and I'm sure we still have some today, that we advertise, but we don't actually execute well. So we want to make sure that we are setting up some processes to ensure that we are in fact delivering what we say we're delivering, and that we are making sure that we're doing it at a high level. So we want to periodically make sure we evaluate those programs and services to make sure that we're having the most significant impact we can, that we're getting the best return for the energy and effort that we put into that. So these are the 6 major initiatives that came out of our strategic planning process. Happy to share more of it with you. If you want to send Amanda a request, we can send you the detail behind it. But the ultimate goal of our strategic planning process is the 3 points at the bottom. We want to make sure that the conferences flourish, because quite frankly, they are where the activity really happens on a day in, day out basis. Not here at Chamblee, we try to support you, but you all make it really happen. Secondly, and probably most important, we want to make sure lives are improved, right? We want to make sure that the folks who are in need get a hand up, right? We want to make sure we're helping people get back on their feet, and that is the essence of who we are. And finally, we want to make sure we can prove the impact that of the services and programs that we're doing on a day in, day out basis. So thanks, Jerry. Appreciate the opportunity. I want to pass it over to Denise Fisher. Denise is our board vice chair, vice president, I guess we use. I still have to get used to that. Most boards are chair and vice chair, but Denise is our vice president of our board. She's also been a huge catalyst behind getting us started in the housing area. And she also, as I mentioned earlier, was a huge part of making sure that our strategic planning process went off as well as it did. So thank you, Denise, for all your efforts. And I'll let you fill in the group a little bit more in terms of what we're doing from a housing standpoint going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. So in terms of all the programs and all of the strategies under the program category, we have a subcommittee of the board responsible for each one doing an in-depth dive. So today I'm going to just talk about one of those, and that's the housing committee. Right now, our housing committee, our plan of action is along the top there. We are doing a deep dive to research the area. We're trying to build some capacity at the support center. We will be obtaining conference input and then executing the program. So the last few weeks we've been spending doing research. We started with a presentation from the CEO of the Atlanta Regional Commission, who did a special presentation tailored just for St. Vincent de Paul. And he gave us the overview of the housing market, if you will, in town, and gave us some context and history. and a lot of data to know where we are as a community throughout the metro area in terms of housing. We've done a lot of research through the HUD website to learn about how housing services are delivered. The delivery of housing services has dramatically changed over the last decade. It has gotten very sophisticated, very data-driven, and we needed to get up to speed on not only the vocabulary, but to understand what types of programs are working and where the future is going. So we looked at trying to understand continuums of care, housing first as a policy, and understand all the different types of housing services that are out there and what the potential is. Then we took a look at all the programs that are being offered throughout the US from St. Vincent de Paul currently. We have over 30 conferences that are managing over 100 different special works or housing programs throughout the country that are providing over 9,000 beds every night for people. And the impact of that is over $72 million in resources being devoted to housing right now. We went and did a site visit to St. Petersburg, Florida, to learn from one of the leaders in St. Vincent de Paul in the housing area. They are the largest provider of veterans homeless services in the country, not just St. Vincent de Paul, but in the country. And it was an invaluable meeting. We're there for 2 days and toured all of their sites and learned a great deal about all the possibilities with these programs. We're going to continue to go through those each month when we meet to learn more and more about what is currently being offered. We also wanted to take inventory of the programs that we have here in St. Vincent de Paul, Georgia, because we've got some programs throughout the conferences that we wanted to get to know. So we took a look at understanding House of Dreams, St. Michael's House, the Motel to Home program, and St. Monica's House. And we'll talk about one of those in just a few minutes. Right now, we're starting to branch out and talk to the local nonprofit leaders to find out from them really what's working in the market, where the gaps are in coverage or services that are offered, and how St. Vincent de Paul can best position itself to becoming really meaningful, and rather than just adding more stuff that's already being done by others, where we can really add some value. So we're continuing with those efforts. In the meantime, we obtained some additional funding for Motel to Home, and we are expanding the service that we're offering into DeKalb County, Gwinnett County, and some more work in the city of Norcross. We're also moving away from this as a pilot program and trying to formalize and institutionalize the program by adding policies and procedures, completing logic models so that we know that we have a clear service delivery program. We're looking at case management, a quality assurance type program, and ongoing evaluation and improvement of the program. So really trying to tighten up that program in terms of making it a model going forward that we can then use for other programs later on. This spring and summer, we hope to move into the conference input stage, where we're going to be coming out to the conferences, both rural, urban, and suburban conferences, to hear from you all about what the needs are in your communities. We're going to do some online surveys and also some Zoom meetings, but we really want to get a good cross section of understanding what the needs are in the different areas. We probably are going to, my guess is we'll find out that it's not just one program that's going to solve everybody's issues. There may be several different types of things that are needed. We're going to try and hear from you all. So if your conferences or your district would like to participate, if you have some ideas about programs or just would like to have some input, please send us an invite, because we would love to come out and visit you. We're also going to be starting to work with the conferences as we get this input to begin to build logic models of service and a a theory of change for these short and long-term solutions. And those are just, fancy words now, but it's basically having a very clear idea of who we want to serve, why we're doing this, how we're going to do it, for how long, how we're going to measure success, and how we're going to pay for it. So it's just nuts and bolts management at that point. Once that's completed, we'll identify what other knowledge or skills or staff that we need to add, and then we're going to circle back with a draft to the conferences again to try and get some input from their clients on what we're proposing, so that we can get to hear from the people with lived experience on whether or not they think that what we're proposing is going to have some real impact. And once we get to the program execution stage, we will, have a complete program design, we'll test it, and then begin to implement it. So that's kind of our roadmap going forward for now. And it's my pleasure now to introduce you to Laura Gibbs. She's a Vincentian, and she has been a pioneer at St. Vincent de Paul, Georgia, in the housing services delivery for over 20 years, been working in this. So we have some internal experts, thankfully, and Laura is one of them. So I'll turn it over to her now.
Thank you, Denise. I like that, the next part. It's my pleasure to be here, and I thank you, Jerry, for inviting me to participate in this forum. I have been running this program, or the director of the program now, for over 20 years, as Denise pointed out. But the real pioneers of the program were a couple, Julie and Phil Pantoja, back in 1999. They were the ones who worked on putting all the paperwork together, getting the resources and the information as to how to run a program. But we finally went full-fledged with bringing ladies into the program in 2001. We started off with a 4-bedroom, a capacity to have 4 ladies. We grew to 8, and then now we're back to 4, but I'll explain that a little bit later. We were set up to help ladies who were homeless, who were either recently lost their job, or they got reduced hours on their job, but it was solely designed, or is solely designed still, for women without dependent children with them. We provide them with basic services, shelter, of course, being the predominant one that they come to us for, food from the pantry at the church, and transportation needs. We try to meet that as well. The cost of our program is $75 per week. So it's imperative that the ladies we take in at some point become employed. We will take them in if they're unemployed, but we certainly aspire for them to find employment within 30 days and then to go on to full employment thereafter. Over the years, we have served over, I would say, under 100, about 95 or so ladies in the program, which the numbers may not seem very large compared to other services offered and other programs out there. However, our ladies stay a while. Initially, they were well past 6 months, going on a year, but since accepting grants from the COB ESG, Emergency Shelter Program, we were tasked with limiting how long someone could stay, so the dollars would go further. So right now we have a limit of 6 months that they could stay in the program. Let's see, so 6 months is the maximum thing. There are some exceptions to that, but that's on a case-by-case basis. We currently have anywhere from 15 to 20 volunteers. I would say right now we're at about 15 ladies that, and they're all, well, they're not all ladies. apologies, I take that back. We have 15 volunteers. We do have someone who does our grant writing for us, and we have, which is something else, that's the reason why I pull back on that. But we volunteers work in the capacity of being mentors to the ladies in the program, working one-on-one, keeping them abreast of their goals and the steps to get there. We have inspectors who inspect the apartment on a weekly basis, just to make sure that the ladies are maintaining a good standard, physically, so as well. And then, of course, keeping the apartment clean and in good order. We have accountants that take care of paying our bills and reporting on our grant details. I serve as I mentioned, the director, which is really the face of the organization, the one who interacts with the community, the first person that the ladies see during the interview process, just overall managing it with the inspectors and the mentors, and just keeping everything running and in a structured state as we have designed it to be. 15 volunteers are good, but we're always seeking out additional volunteers so that the word gets spread throughout. All our volunteers come from the St. Thomas Catholic Church, and many of them have served for years. It seems like people only leave when they're moving out of town, but they all are there willing and willing to serve the ladies in whatever unique capacities that they may have. Of course, there's a segment of the society that we cannot serve, even though it's single women without children. There are some limitations that we have, given it's one apartment that we have. So we do not take anyone who has criminal history. That's pretty much asked right off the bat, or anyone coming out of jail. Depending on so someone coming out of jail is usually for violence or stealing or something that just doesn't work to coincide with others. No drug users or abusers or anyone with a history of such. Someone who's been jobless for a long time, with our program requiring that someone gets employment within 30 days, it's not likely that someone who's been unemployed for a year or two to meet that standard for us. We also do not take anyone that's chronically sick, and another disqualifies anyone that's on Social Security disability. So if they're disabled, that means they're not able, in most cases, to work the required amount of time. And the other problem with someone being disabled is that if you have everybody going out on a daily basis to work and you have one person left to stay home, it's not an equal setting. And trust me, we've learned some of these lessons the hard way. We've tried it, it doesn't work. We also, as far as age, we look for people 25 years and over. That usually works anyway with not having dependent children with you. So those are the things we look for or don't look for in accepting someone into the program. As far as funding, since the ladies do contribute to the program, they pay for most of the expenses that we have, but we do get a grant from Cobb ESG, again, ESG Emergency Shelter Grant Program, and which helps for to cover most of our expenses. But in giving a grant, there's a match, and so we do have to collect funds elsewhere to show to them that we're able to sustain the program. And part of that too is the fact that we have to spend the money first before we get it. So they definitely look for matching funds. We get funds from our conference or funding from our conference in terms of the food, products and paper goods that we may need. We could get it from there. We also get funding from just volunteers of the program and other members of the church. And so with that, that's how our operation is run. And I welcome any questions for anything that I may have omitted in getting through the session. Thank you.
Laura, thank you very much. This was it's amazing that they've been here for and operating and providing a service to the community for over 20 years. They're one of several that started around that time, and there's still a couple that are in existence, and we hope to highlight them in some of the upcoming town halls. But Laura and the team, thank you so much for what you do. It was, initiated and guided by the council, but truly it was a conference inspired special work. And so hopefully if some of you out in the conferences do get that Holy Spirit to move you, that maybe you'll follow along in St. Joseph's footsteps. So anyway, or St. Thomas's footsteps, I should say. So I'm going to switch gears. We're going to switch over and have Amanda talk about recruitment and formation before we move on to the next set of topics. So Amanda, take it away.
Thank you, Jerry. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not going to show you how to find you a Laura Gibbs in your conference, but hopefully some of the tactics that we have will help us find some people to help us expand some of these initiatives that we have over housing and whatnot, and then just general casework. Recruitment we threw in here because glad to say that it has not died down over the last 2 years like some things have. We've been consistently recruiting throughout the conferences, maybe not through ministry fairs like typical, but they have been. We are getting new members each week, and we're holding our Ozonom trainings every two months, and they're being well attended. So that tells us there's new members and still very engaged members joining us. So today, I just wanted to kind of remind the leaders that are on the meeting today and any other members that we do have a formal recruitment program. You might refer to it as invitation to serve. Over the years, we've called it that, but we're really trying to reform it into more of a membership development culture program. We all want to recruit, have caseworkers come in, and I don't think we think about the long-term planning as much as just inviting people to attend our meetings, but really it's more of a, there's 3 steps to it. We can all recruit, we can ask people to come, but there's a whole onboarding process and retaining them that is like the core to having these well-developed members, and ultimately continued leadership and leadership development within your conference contributes to the long-term success of your conference. So there is a formal, I'm not going to go into them, but there's 2 different recruitment methods. Invitation to serve is where you can get up in front of your parish, do a pulpit talk, do some bulletin announcements, and there's a whole guide to how to do that program. And then we also have an Each One Reach One program where it's more of a one-on-one ask. So you challenge each of your current members to ask a friend or a parishioner to join them at a meeting and to learn more about St. Vincent de Paul. We have postcards available for that one that you can send out to your members. And those are both on the website. Detailed information for both of those programs are on the link here on the slide, svdpgeorgia.org/membership-recruitment. And then just reminding you that, once they're invited, make sure that you have a plan in place to engage them right away, whether it's inviting them to the meetings, giving them a conference, setting up a conference orientation that Jerry and I are happy to come out and assist with. If you would like us to present and do the orientation, we can do that. Pay attention to the Vincent University offerings that are every other month, and CMS trainings as they really join and get going. And then down the line, just keep in mind that they're not only bringing new ideas, but they can be your leaders down the line and succession planning. And then we just wanted to remind you guys of any upcoming training information dates. This Saturday, January 29th, these are all virtual. Right now, we're still doing everything virtual unless we are invited out to a conference in person. January 29th is spiritual advisor formation. This is basic spiritual advisor training for new spiritual advisors. Presidents and vice presidents are also invited to attend. So we want everybody on the same page, and it's always good to have the president know the spiritual goals of the conference. So please feel free to join us if you have not signed up for that one yet. February 3rd, next Wednesday, we've got a CMS advanced topic that will go over client history report and how to upload documents into the documents tab of CMS. Anybody at any role can join that CMS training. It's at noon on Wednesday. And then February 8th, 9th, and 10th, we've got our 3-part series of virtual Vincent University, which is our basic Ozanam orientation, home visit orientation, and it is required. If you're a new member, you are required to take this within 1 year of joining as a Vincentian. And then, so this February session, we changed it up for some people. We're gonna do the 8th and 9th. It's from 12 to 2, noon to 2 o'clock. And then the 10th, the third session is at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So that we kind of changed it up for those who missed previous sessions because of the timing. So we're just kind of being flexible here and throwing out various times for people to join us. So please register at the link there, the Vincentian calendar. And also just check that calendar. If you want to bookmark that calendar, it's always good to have to sign up for any events that we have. You'll see them as they come up and are posted. And we also send out e-blasts about them. Hopefully you're all receiving that. I think that's it for now, Jerry.
Okay, Amanda, thank you so much for that update. And again, we love it when you come to Vincentian University. I think everybody that's gone through it has felt that it's valuable, especially as it brings us together in this virtual time. So again, we look forward to seeing you in February, as well as in some of the other sessions that we're holding. And again, like Amanda said, if you need help with recruitment, we're here to help you. We want you to continue to build up a strong conference in each one of your areas. So one of the things that Pat mentioned is trying to stay close with our conferences and connecting the conference support center with our conferences is I've had a mission of reaching out and visiting with as many conferences as I can. My objective is to get to all 73. I'm up to, I think, 46. If I haven't visited your conference, please tell your conference president to get with me because I'm getting with them too, to come visit. But the beauty of it is I get to see what's going on where the rubber meets the road and see some of the best practices and the innovations that come out of conferences. And so a little over a month ago, I went and visited Christ the Redeemer, and I was just blown away at such a strong conference and the innovation they had regarding community collaboration, which I think if you can take away a little bit of this, I think it'll help your conferences. So I am proud to introduce Susan Seldamridge, who is the conference president at Christ the Redeemer. And Susan, tell us a little bit about, your conference.
Well, thank you very much, Jerry. I'm excited to be here and to highlight Christ the Redeemer. We're small, but we're mighty. We are a community that's our church is about a mile off of 400. We border Lake Lanier, and we have 534 families right now. We started off very humbly as in 1984 in a renovated house as a mission of St. Luke's. And I'm proud to tell you that the picture that you see there is our brand new proper church that we're worshiping in. We just celebrated a year anniversary, so we're very excited. Our demographics are, we traditionally have older people, a lot of retired folks in our parish, but in the last several years, we've seen an input of younger families, and we're very excited about that because we need that fresh blood. Our St. Vincent de Paul group started in 2006, and we have 45 people who have, quote, signed up to be Vincentians. Out of that group, I'd say there's probably 29 that are active on a very regular basis. We have 17 caseworkers, and we do our call a week at a time, each two-member team, a week at a time. Probably our strength is we have some people who are not tied down with a job, so they have some time to devote to it. That is also our weakness because they're an older population, and the pandemic has really impacted us. We've gone totally to phone visits, and we don't feel good about that because we know the value of that person to person, and hope we can get back to that soon. We average about 18 people at each one of our meetings, which is wonderful because it gives us lots of good input. Our pastor is incredibly supportive. Father Higgins often cites St. Vincent de Paul in his homilies and asks for people to be generous to us, and they are. Probably the best thing is our generous parish. And if you could do the next slide there. Our parish funding is probably the thing that is most amazing. We are small, but we have a very generous population. We have traditionally always enjoyed a very generous financial support from our parishioners. We have an envelope in each month's envelopes, and a lot of people are doing online giving now. And I'm happy to tell you that that did not stop at all during the pandemic, especially even when we were not even able to be at church. Our parishioners continued to support us, and in turn, we were able to support the people in the community. Probably the strength, I think, of our conference is because it's a small community, a lot of people know each other and serve on different committees and things with each other, and therefore there's a lot of interaction between the different organizations that are in Dawson. We do not have a food pantry, and because we've never had a proper church to have a food pantry in. And so we've, for years, have relied on our good friends at the Rick Rack, which is a food pantry and thrift store. And it is now part of the Place, which is in Forsyth County. There is now going to be a Place in Dawson County. And we're excited about continuing our relationship with them. We refer to them and they refer to us. The same is true about our Family Connections office. They often get calls for assistance, and the first thing they usually do is call us, ask us to vet them to see if we have helped them in the past, and whether we have or have not, make a determination about whether we can help them again together. And we have collaborated frequently on us paying part and Family Connection paying another part to help the people of Dawson. We also do the same thing with our 9th District Opportunity Office, although it's a little more restricted because it's a federal program. We often work with them and help people get back on their feet. Probably the one that I'm most excited about is the Amicalola Propane. About 5 years ago, one of our parishioners, one of our caseworkers, went in to pay a bill for one of our clients with Amicalola Propane. A good many of our folks in Dawson County use propane as their main source of heat and et cetera. So she went in to pay, and the owner struck up a conversation with her about what is St. Vincent de Paul and what do we do. And he was so impressed with her responses and how many people we had already served and that kind of thing, that he made a commitment to us, an in-kind commitment, that he would donate 700 gallons of propane each year. Now, for some years when propane was $1 a gallon, that was, $700 that we could use to help pay off some people's propane bills. Now it's $3 a gallon. So that's a $2,100 donation that man has made, and for his company. And we're just very proud of that. I just wanted to tell you that as of yesterday, Etowah Water Company has seen fit to do the exact same thing. They are donating or in kind setting up an account for us with $2,500 to offset our cost. And when I spoke with Brooke Anderson, the manager, he said, I apologize. I should have done this years ago because I have been watching what you all do with the money that you raise and how you help the people of Dawson County. And we want to be a part of that. So we just feel very positive about the reputation that St. Vincent de Paul, our conference, has gained in our small community. In addition to our generous parish, we also have a wonderful gal who does grant writing for us. And we have, as you can see, the number listed there on the slide, multiple people that donate to us through grants or just outright gifts. And for example, Big Canoe Benevolent Committee, the Big Canoe community that straddles Dawson and Pickens County, they give us a grant every year. We apply for these things annually. They give us a grant every year of about $7,500, $8,000, and we act as their agency for anybody who calls them for assistance. They refer people to us. And the same is true of United Way. We get a grant every year from them. We apply and have successfully gotten that grant for the last 20 years. So I've already mentioned Rick Rock, our relationship with them. We get also a generous check from Food Lion. We often use Food Lion as one of our supplements to the food pantry. We give Food Lion gift cards. Sawney EMC and Amicalola EMC both give us grants. They are restricted. They ask that we not spend it on electricity, but we can spend it on anything else, and so we do that. Also, our own Knights of Columbus has generously given us grants in the last couple of years. Also, Catholic Foundation of North Georgia. And one of the things that we've done just for first time, and we're going to try it again this year, because we couldn't do any of our normal fundraisers because of COVID, we did a personal challenge. And by that, we asked each one of our members to either talk with or send a letter to their subdivision, their neighbors, their family, their co-workers, and to tell them about St. Vincent de Paul and ask them for a generous donation. And we raised $2,000 the first time we did it. So we're going to try that again this year because we think that's a good personal way to do it. All of this work has resulted in us having $113,000 in direct assistance to our community this past year. The majority of that was in rent and housing and lodging and utilities. And we helped 319 families. So we feel very positive about the impact that our conference is having in Dawson County. And in fact, we are one of the largest charitable organizations in Dawson County for direct aid. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to highlight what we do here in North Georgia, and invite y'all to come up and see our new church, and welcome your input and questions. Thank you.
Susan, thank you so much. I've been up there. It is a wonderful church, and I like to think of you as the little conference that could. So you guys have done a wonderful job of really spreading out and becoming a vibrant part of the community and educating them. So in turn, they know that you are the go-to organization to help those people up in your area. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to switch over to grants update and turn it over to Alicia Higginbotham. And Alicia's going to take you through, because, a lot of this gets spurned from the efforts out of the council, the Conference Support Center. In fact, I was up at another conference on Sunday, quite a ways out, almost on the other side of the world. And they remarked to me that several years ago, they actually attended a session here at a Spring to Life that was all about how to go out and get local grants. And they said that was the launching point for them. In turn, they now get an ongoing basis about 4 to 5 grants a year that helps them supplement their local parishioner donations. So now I'm going to turn it over to Alicia. Alicia, it's all yours.
Okay. Yeah, that was a perfect segue, Sue. All the amazing community partnerships, and I'm up here in Dawsonville myself, so I've taken some good notes. So since March of 2020, through the Conference Support Center, we have helped manage 41 grants, which you can see on the right side of the slide here. It lists most of them. We may have missed 1 or 2, but those are the big ones that we helped coordinate through a lot of county and city governance offices. And in total, about $2.9 million were distributed, which assisted over 2,900 families. And what this means is an average of $877 that was provided to assist families. And before COVID hit, we were looking at families would have to go into debt, an average cost $400. So an $800 amount of assistance essentially saves a family from having to go into credit card debt or borrow money from family or miss a rental payment that would cause an eviction. So, almost 3,000 families that we provided that support for. It's pretty incredible. So I think if we do the next slide. Maybe.
We're on the next slide, Alicia.
Oh, maybe mine isn't updating. Okay, there we are. I apologize. So for conferences, so how can conferences get more of that funding? So what I described was, with the conference support, we did these realities, but there are a ton of opportunities for funds within counties that come from sort of county support. So a lot of what Sue was describing, or even what Laura was describing with House of Dreams and the Cobb County grant that they have to support that program. So there are those county offices that have grants, but you can look at your local commerce options. So each Walmart store, if you have a store number for the Walmart that you shop at or that your conference uses a lot, we're able to go into a portal and make a request of, $1,000 to $3,000 grants based on that Walmart store number. We've also had success with some of our conferences going to the car dealerships that are located in their area and just talking with the owners of those car dealerships who usually are pretty to supporting local community efforts. And helping the commerce retail stores. So we were seeing The Place, which is a thrift store here in Cumming, was a good partner for Christ the Redeemer Church. But a lot of other local retail stores, they might give in kind, so gift cards, or they may have community grants that they're able to offer local for local support. And then corporate giving offices. So again, just kind of like the Walmarts in your area. And again, just looking at the different cash and in-kind options that might be available, because maybe it's utility support that can be an in-kind partnership, like what Sue had described. We've also got local foundations. So the community foundations in your area, Catholic Foundation of North Georgia, and then there's a Foundation of North Georgia, Community Foundation of West Georgia, a few of those regional foundations, but there can be some that are family foundations or charities that are really specific to your town or your county. That we look knowing what are those nonprofit opportunities that you could coordinate with in your region. And then the local support, local service network. So the county and city offices, like what I had described earlier about Cobb County, Fulton County, Johns Creek, DeKalb County, Gwinnett County, Norcross. We've partnered with a lot of those metro Atlanta counties and cities, but there are plenty of offices that are, again, just more local to your specific area where your church is located, that would have an interest in partnering with you, knowing what the Vincentians are doing, and being a part of those efforts to improve low-income communities around you. And again, just that coordination with other nonprofits that are doing similar work. So I think the last slide is just an invitation. If you want to reach out, of course, I'm happy to assist. I'm the grants manager for St. Vincent de Paul out of the Conference Support Center. And as you're thinking about these opportunities or hoping to apply for them, there are definitely going to be some items that might be requested that you don't have access to. I'm happy to help coordinate with you to get a 501c3 letter to you, our board list, things like that might be required. And also, if you're looking through what grants, what the requirements are to fulfill the grant, sometimes there are reporting requirements or there may be compliance items. And, sometimes they're really simple, just, okay, after 6 months, tell us what you accomplished. But they can get pretty complicated. So if you have any questions or want some support for how to do those final reports or just make sure that you're within compliance on a grant, my email address and phone number are there. So please do reach out.
Alicia, thank you so much. One of the things that you can come back to us afterwards, and again, we're always looking for new topics, but if you want us to set up some kind of a webinar, a workshop around grants and be able to spend some quality time, say, 30 minutes, 45 minutes going through this, please let us know and we'd be happy to host it. We think it's very important to help you as you're out there generating and helping those in your community that you have the necessary funds. So again, don't be bashful. That's part of our mission, is to help you within your local community. So let me just finish up from the presentation standpoint and talk about one particular grant. So this is a grant that we acquired that Southern Company Gas came to us towards the end of 2020 during COVID. And they said, hey, look, we know you're doing a lot of good work. Here's $183,000 to help those people in need with their gas bills. And we had a slow start, but then when it finally caught on that this was a pretty easy gas reimbursement grant, it started to really, how would I say, gather a lot of steam. And we just finished up the $183,000 in towards the end of November of last year, in which 33 St. Vincent de Paul conferences participated. And the best part is we helped 937 families with their gas bills. So the other thing is we had to do a lot of reporting and compliance back to Atlanta Gas Light, Southern Company Gas. They liked it so much, it became their template for other grants that they do with other agencies. And then they came back to us and said, guess what? We've got additional funds for you. So we're kicking it off and we're going to do it again. And we're kicking off this phase 2 of the natural gas reimbursement grant. You use the same site to apply for it. And we're looking forward to having the same type of success in supplying our conferences with some reimbursement funds to help those people in their local community, especially right now where it's winter and I'm sure their gas bills, and they want to keep their heat on. Their gas bills are becoming a very large percentage of their monthly expense. So we have an opportunity to help them. And so again, feel free to utilize our site. Come talk to us. Carolyn Weber is running the program. She reaches out and talks with all the different conferences. I'm hoping we get a few more conferences than the 33. I think there are a few out there that have natural gas customers that they can help. So I look forward to you guys taking advantage of this grant. Again, it's a statewide grant, and it has to do with anybody that is utilizing Atlanta Gas Light as the wholesaler of the national grant. So with that, that concludes the presentation portion of the town hall. I see that there's a couple questions in the chat room. I'm going to turn it over to Amanda, who will coordinate this, and then we'll open it up to general discussions. Again, thank you so much for patiently sitting through these presentations. Amanda?
Yes, thank you, everyone. We actually don't have too many questions, so after we go through these, feel free to come off of mute. Martha just reiterated that the recruitment materials are easy to customize. They are all customizable, so that's great. Happy that you guys are using them. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you want to help your conference leader with recruitment and those materials. Linda, you mentioned that all grant requests have to be done through Alicia. Alicia, if you want to explain further, but basically you can research and research your local community and your grants, but yes, all grants should go through Alicia's office, and she, like she said, she can give you the materials you might need, the documents that you might need. But even if you don't need anything from her, please make sure you're sending her or keeping her in the loop of what you're doing grant wise. Alicia, you want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of mentioning in an ideal scenario, I would be in the loop on all of those applications. And the main part of that is really just to protect our 501c3, you know, both with the paperwork and with the financial administration of grants, there are legal ramifications. So please do, you know, let us know. But we are aware there are applications that get submitted without that coordination, and that's okay. Just again, be sure that you're, reading the requirements and that you're in a good faith partnership with the funder. And just do your best, do your best to coordinate when and where possible.
Thanks. Thanks for clarifying. I thought you also put that in the chat. Thank you. Linda is saying that the website's not open for the reimbursement. I'm gonna check on that link, Jerry. I'll put it in the chat in a second, just to make sure we have putting the right one out there. And Mike asked, Jerry, how far back can the gas bills be dated to be reimbursed with the new program? I think
we're going back to December. So so any bills that you have paid in the December 2021 timeframe moving forward.
Thank you. Let's see.
The other thing I just want to mention is it's the same, almost the same exact terms and conditions as the previous one, but there is no longer a requirement to attest to a COVID impact. That is no longer a requirement. Everything else remains the same. So for those folks that have taken advantage of it, it should be very familiar with you.
This question is for Laura. It's from Jack and Joanne up in Gainesville about the House of Dreams. They're asking who owns the apartments and the leases.
Okay. We rent from a company. It's just Lexington Park Apartments. And as far as the lease at Vincent McCall, the lease is under our name or the council's name. So yeah. And that was the biggest challenge we had in opening, was to find a apartment management company that was willing to rent to us. Once you get over that hurdle, it's easy peasy, but that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah. And Joanne, just to add to that, if you decide up in St. Michael's that you want to do that, I mean, again, I think there's another St. Michael's who has a St. Michael's house, and again, they have a lease. The recommendation is the lease should go into St. Vincent de Paul, Georgia's name. There is an official legal name. It will fall within our insurance and liability. I think you'd want to do that. So, ultimately we can have an MOU with your local conference where you're really taking on responsibility of it, but you want to fall within our 501c3.
Thank you. And I just put in the chat a link to the 2 transitional housing programs, House of Dreams and St. Michael's House. It's just if you guys wanted to take back more information to your conference members, feel free to take the information that's on that webpage. It gives you all of the eligibility and criteria and things like that. No more questions in the chat room right now. So if the floor is open, we still have Denise on if there's questions about the housing. Pat is still on about strategic plan. And Jerry, myself, and Sue, and Laura, and Alicia.
Okay. When
I saw somebody had in the chat room. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I saw somebody in the chat room that they just had 12 new members. Wow, that's awesome.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, when can we start submit to that gas refund? Elena, guess
We're starting it. The
Today.
site should have
Today?
been up and running. So we'll make sure it's up today.
okay. So Caroline gonna send that to you link, or do we
No,
use?
It's the same link.
the same link, and it's live right now. You should be able to,
Okay.
right after this, submit them. And she's ready.
Okay, so we
Alright.
can start today. Thank you.
Go get your reimbursement at Transfig, Kay, right?
Yes.
See anybody else?
I have a question for Alicia. We're rural in Winder. We don't have any gas, but have you done any work on Georgia Power as far as electrical. We get a Jackson EMC grant, which is wonderful. But was wondering if there's anything with Georgia Power.
Well, so we don't have anything currently active with Georgia Power. And it's something that we could certainly look at for the future. I'm just trying to think.
Hey,
Jerry-
Alicia.
Yeah,
I'm going to
thank
jump
you.
in there a little bit. Yeah,
please.
sure. We do have, we do have some conversations going with Georgia Power. Specifically, but although they're kind of divided up into different groups, right? So we are speaking to their foundation folks who we have a relationship with, but the leader of that group is very much in touch with St. Vincent de Paul and very knowledgeable about what we do. He's been a friend of St. Vincent de Paul for some time. So in terms of that particular group, though, that's something that we certainly could or should follow up on.
We give them a lot of money.
I'm sorry.
We give them a lot of money. We pay a lot of bills
Yeah.
for Georgia Power, so maybe we can get some funding from them.
Yeah, so we do have a request for cash with them, but yeah, I think
Yeah.
as far as an in-kind kind of partnership, that would be something we could, start to work on.
Thank you.
I think you're, if I've understood the question, it's more along the lines of the Atlanta Gaslight, that kind of assistance, or yes?
Yes, we don't have gas in Winder. So we
Gotcha.
don't have any gas customers. It's more Georgia Power and Jackson EMC. That's why I was questioning.
Yeah, no, it's good follow-up for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Pat, we'd love to work with you up in Winder at St. Matthews. So let's talk. Maybe there are other local businesses that can help you with funding, because I know you guys do a lot of good work with your food pantry and your direct assistance. So
Yes, and we don't have like any businesses or corporates or car dealerships or anything like that. I'm sure some of the other rural places don't. We have the used car dealership buy here, pay here. They wouldn't help us, but Jackson EMC has been a blessing to us because we've gotten like 3 grants within the COVID. They came to us and actually offered us a grant for housing, and it's really helped. It really has helped us, and we've been able to increase our. We used to have a payout of 250 was our limits, and now we've raised that to 400, 450. But for rent, nothing's out of our realm. We've been paying a lot of things we don't normally pay because of COVID, but we're still rocking on. We're doing good, and the pantry's wonderful.
that's great. Well, bless you guys.
Thank you.
I have a question to follow up with Patty. This is Jorge with St. Matthew's Conference in Winder, and we do have a large dealership, which is Atkins, which they distribute.
That's right.
I believe they're so large that they distribute to many in the area. And my question is do you all have any suggestions on how to approach a large dealership like that? And also we have a Walmart here, and those are the two that I believe we could possibly tap and see about obtaining some financial support from them. Any tips on that?
Well, I think approaching them, and telling them what you do and how you do it and the families you serve would probably stem some ideas from them on where they can help out. And so I don't know if the large dealership, every once in a while might want to donate a car or two, right, for a family in need, but they might set aside something like that. Or, if if they do a lot of repairs, maybe they give you some in-kind repair. You know, Walmart, you know, there's probably ways you can set up. I'm sure you set up something with Walmart for your food pantry, right? Where they might be able to donate or, you know, give you some food cards or give you cards for the Walmart. You know, I think, you know, this is just off the top of my head, but again, this is where if there is a need, right, we can sit down and probably brainstorm with you guys and maybe even take a look at the area, because I know our grants group, you know, has a full spectrum from list and everything that you'd be surprised that, you know, maybe you don't think you have businesses there, but maybe you do. I know that I went to a national meeting and they talked about one conference that joined forces with a local country club who, you know, they set up a fund. They just had no way of distributing it. And we become a natural, you know, feet on the ground to help distribute these types of benevolent funds, much like, you know, they're doing up at Christ the Redeemer with Big Canoe. You might have some communities out there that are looking for, you know, compassionate volunteers that will be good stewards of their funds. And we could sit down and kind of go through that with you.
Yeah, thank you.
We
Joe.
have
Yeah, Jack.
Liberty Gas up here. Would this Southern Gas Company pay those bills?
Unless if it's AGL, if the wholesaler is AGL, then yes. And there's like, I think 12, 13 resellers of Atlantic Gas Light. So, and if not, maybe you could go to them and say, look what Atlantic Gas Light's doing. Can you do something like that for us?
Okay, thank you.
I mean, you know, it's worth a try, right?
Yeah.
You guys do a great job up there at St. Michael's, you know, getting a lot of funds and community involvement.
Right, thank you.
You're not bashful, you and Joanne, right?
No, we talk.
Yeah.
We
You do a good
network.
job at it.
Yeah, we network a lot.
Yeah.
Hello, I just asked that same question on chat and she said there's a list of all the vendors on the application for the gas reimbursement.
Right.
So maybe everybody should know that you can look at this list and see if one of your local gas companies is associated with them.
Yeah. In fact,
didn't
it's all, Maureen, it's all documented on that site.
I didn't know if
The
it. yeah, I didn't-
process,
yeah.
the guidelines and the list of resellers.
Okay, thanks.
Before we leave the topic about the trips, I've had some personal success with clients who had a very large repair bill. It was a $6,000 auto. I went in person and just appealed to the service manager. And he had sent an email to the Toyota corporate office, and within 24 hours, they knocked that $6,000 bill down to $1,500. So that may be another avenue while you're waiting on grants. There's just some personal advocacy that can be done on a case-by-case basis that they had. They were able to charge Toyota the difference, and they had a type of benevolence fund to help people. So you may want to consider that as well.
That's great, Denise. Right? We're not bashful, are we?
Humble, but not bashful. Mike has a question for maybe Jerry or Denise. Talking about motel to home. He saw that DeKalb County was highlighted, but we've actively done it in Gwinnett and Cobb. Is there anything going on in DeKalb?
Well, there is. I mean, we've just initiated, and I can take him through that. Again, some of these motel to home efforts, Mike, and like we talked about before, it goes through their coordinated entry. But I'd be happy to have Heidi Easley is running the program. And so, Mike, I'd be happy to have her direct connect with you to take you through. There's a couple, 3 programs that are provided to us. And we're also launching another program around water bill reimbursements. So
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Jack
By the-
Capiz, I saw
by the way,
your
Mike-
hand up earlier.
I just want to let Mike, by the way, the cab also kind of starting to talk to us about, they have some CARES Act funds that are still available. So we're looking at that right now. If
Okay.
that's if that's of interest to IHM.
Well, we have a lot, we're paying a lot of money to temporary or extended stay hotels. So we're going to be definitely interested in any kind of programs that can help out in that way.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Andy, you asked a question.
I saw your hand up earlier and I meant to circle back to you. I didn't know. Maybe your question's been answered.
It has. Thank you.
Okay, great.
This is Steve Matthews. I've had some experience with the CARES Act. I'd like to discuss that a little bit. It's a very, very procedural, a lot of work to get the money and a lot of record keeping, and it's almost too much to manage by the secretaries and the treasurers.
Agreed, Steve. We feel your pain. I mean,
Yeah.
when we were running CARES Act, I mean, again, this is where we asked you to come to us. We ran some CARES Act funds and we did it with our own organization. Of course, we leveraged conferences, but we had to have people here because of, the, how would I say it? The compliance and reporting requirements were burdensome. Now, we understand that they might have eased up a little bit, but it's still, whenever you're dealing with federal government money, I mean, there is just, there's just a level of complexity. So that is where we usually ask for some kind of administrative fee. We don't want to take it out of what goes to the conferences, but we do want to set it aside because it requires staff and typically it's a long-term thing because we're required to hold on to this information and
3
be
years.
audit ready for many years.
Right,
So
exactly.
it's just not, we love it when somebody just gives us money and says, do what you think is best, right? But that doesn't happen with the government.
We did find out at the very end as we spent considerable hours getting this accomplished. When it was all done, they said, thank you very much. You don't need to do that the next time.
Oh,
So,
that's good.
so that did make a difference.
That's good. Well, that's
Yes.
great.
Jane Walker. You're on mute, Jane.
From Holy Cross, right?
Yes, I'm kind of hoarse, so I was hoping I could just do it through chat. I'm real hoarse, as a matter of fact. And but there's a person, a elderly lady, which I am also, but who started coming back to church. She's in a home. Her family has pretty well abandoned her in this home. She doesn't have things like the mortgage. We couldn't help one time with her mortgage payments because she doesn't have the paperwork. She gets maybe about 600 in Social Security a month and does have food stamps. But and St. Vincent, the Knights of Columbus are trying to help with some of the repairs. But she said that in order to get like home repairs for an elderly, you have to have insurance and so forth. She just kind of, it's almost like she's, what is the word? Like squatting, she's in this home and it was their family home, but she's almost like a squatter because she doesn't have any ownership now. They just, her husband is in a nursing home and the family just kind of took over and she can call them, but they don't respond.
So it's still within her family is what you're saying.
Pardon?
It's still within her family.
I think so. And but she gets the, I think during the COVID, which we still are in, but I think she got that period of time where they didn't press people for payments and so forth. but now, but she's the one that gets pressed for, I guess, because she has, she's living there. But she doesn't have any kind of rights, I guess you'd say. And I just was wondering, like even though she's not, wouldn't apply, wouldn't be like motel to home, but is there anything that can help somebody in that kind of, it looks pretty hopeless.
Well, let's talk about it. We're unfortunately, we're coming to the bottom of the hour, but, maybe you got to understand her circumstances. She might qualify for some assistance because she might fit the right demographic for some federal funds. Probably need to go talk to, the DeKalb County, continuum of care coordinated entry to see if she might be eligible. If she truly isn't, if she's truly squatting and quote unquote, one step away from homeless. So, I'd be happy to get on a phone with you and Marion and talk through this thing to see what potential options there are for her, right? It's a shame if you're telling us the family owns the place, right? Where's the family, right? Because
yeah, if they're around, they're around here.
Right. So we could talk through it. I know we're now at the bottom of the hour and we're only holding you to this amount of time. So Amanda, unless there's additional questions, I think we're going to end this session. And, and I'll just say, first of all, thank you so much for spending the time with us. We hope you found this valuable. We'll look for your feedback. We also like to know if there's particular topics that you want us to cover, and we'll be happy to. So, let's just finish with a prayer to our Mother Mary. So, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and
Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb,
pray for our
Jesus.
sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Thank you all for your time. God bless you, and thank you for all that you do for those in need. So
Thank you all.
Well,
we'll see you
Bye.
next quarter.
Okay.
mhm.